In three, two,
I'm trying to mirror what you do.
one.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for tuning in again. Another
Yeah.
episode. We're going back to back
Mm-hmm.
on this one. And today we're going to talk about, our personal slogans, if we can say that.
Yeah.
I believe that everybody should have a mantra, if not for your life, but maybe for the season that you're in. A mantra that's tied to the vision that you have.
Yeah.
And a mantra that you can write down, that you can look at, that you can even share with your closest friends.
Yeah.
So that when life gets tough, you know that, like, for me, I was made for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so, I can dive in. I remember I was speaking in, I believe it was Oregon. And, I'm running to the speaking engagement, and I had everything prepared. So I come in, I get to the podium, and, I put my papers in order. And I looked out, there's probably 2,000 people in the audience. It was a big crowd. And I look out, and as I, begin to talk, I just realized, like, yo, this is not it. This is like, yeah, this is like a good talk, but this is not what I'm supposed to communicate.
Mm.
So I looked out into the audience, and they're looking back at me, and I take the paper and I just drop it on the floor.
Mm.
And I begin to start talking about this topic along the lines of, I was made for this. This is nothing I wrote before, but I felt like in that moment it was a message that was in me.
Mm.
And I remember when I was speaking, I started communicating, and really this talk was about purpose. That when I looked out into the audience and I had everything prepared, the thing that I just felt in my spirit was just this lingering thought of, I was made for this.
Mm-hmm.
I finally got to a point where I'm looking at everyone, and I finally said, I was made for this. And the thing I think that was special about that moment was that I didn't just sit down one day and say, hey, I was made to do this, so let me go do it.
Mm.
But I believe that it was in the process of doing it where I literally stopped, almost like my life flashed before my eyes. And I felt it clear in that moment that I was made for this. So now, why do I say that? I think it's important that as people that want to make moves, we have to commit to a process.
Mm.
You know, for me, like, I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be a speaker.
Yeah.
But it was in the process of doing it that I was like, wow, I was made for this.
Yeah.
And that's the topic of purpose.
Mm.
Purpose is not just the things that you do. We always say here, purpose is the reason in which something is created.
Yeah.
So when I say I am made for this, that's my mantra.
Mm.
So I remember speaking at this engagement, and then I hopped off stage. And what happened is I went to the different kids and I started asking them questions, and what were you made for? And then I gave them the mic to say what they were made for.
Mm.
And then I made everybody clap for them. And then you should have seen, like, this conference center that, after every single person said what they were made for, everybody just went nuts.
Mm.
And I think that it's important that as you have your goals, as you have your dreams, as you have your visions, you need some people alongside you that is going to help push you forward in that vision and not pull you back.
Mm.
And I remember kids just coming up to me, and some kids were crying. And even to this day, I have some people that message me from Instagram, like, after that moment, like, their whole life just shifted. And here's what I learned is sometimes people just need some people in their life to push them forward. And maybe you can be that person to push other people forward.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this topic of I was made for this, I think it's a topic of purpose.
Yeah.
So now I know I not only have a mantra for my life, but I know you also have one.
Yes, sir.
And it's, I'm the one.
Mm.
I'm the one. I think that's so powerful. Can you explain to me the moment where you realized that, when that message, that mantra came to you?
Mm.
And now we see you sharing it on social media. I get
Of course.
your ads all the time. It's getting thousands of
Yeah.
views. But tell me, take a step back and tell me, like, when was that moment that you said, I'm the one? I'm the one.
I think it was one day I just sat back to myself, and I thought about my life, and I thought about, in comparison, my life to other people's lives. I've noticed fight after fight, attack after attack, setback after setback.
Mhm.
I asked myself, why is my life so hard?
Yeah.
And I think some people are so busy fighting that we never take the step back to our corner and ask ourselves, why is my life so hard?
Right.
And I come from a very faith-based background, so I begin to ask myself, why is the devil attacking me so hard?
Mhm.
I noticed that there was an attack on my finances. But then I thought to myself, the devil doesn't need my finances. There's no vending machines in hell.
It's true.
So it's not that he was attacking my finances. I look at other people and they struggle with family situations, and I think to myself, the devil's not attacking their family. You don't even like your family.
Right.
The devil is after you. Jesus said, I would leave the 99 for the one.
For the one. That's right.
And that's where I begin to develop the slogan and the mantra, if you will, that you are the one.
That's
The
good.
devil's not after anything else. He wants you because he knows that if he can get you, everything else will fall into line.
That's right. So now let's talk about, the biblical story of Job, because in that story, what we see is that, the devil starts attacking the things around him.
Mhm.
Now, why do you think that is? Let's say, for Job, Job is the one,
Mhm.
right? Job is the one, So why do you think that sometimes he does go and attack the things that we care about?
Mm.
Because in that story, God in that story says, you can take everything, but you just can't take his life.
Mm.
So now let's say there is a person that's listening, right? And they're saying, well, I haven't really felt attacked, but I see the other people around me. I see things happening. No, I see things happening to them.
Okay.
But now I feel like I'm facing the emotional repercussions of that.
Mm.
I see things happening to my family, and that gives me deep anxiety about what's happening to them. So what would you say to those people that are listening? That maybe, they lost a family member during COVID. Maybe they lost one of their best friends. Maybe they ended a relationship during COVID or whatever. How does a person like that continue to push through to believe that there is so much more in store for them? What would you say to that person that's listening?
Well, really, I can give them a whole bunch of words, but really only God can comfort you in your time of need. One thing that I would tell people to be aware of is that the devil is on attack for your mind. And this kind of correlates to what you were saying, but the devil wants your mind. All throughout quarantine, no matter what happened, there are people who graduated school.
That's right.
They graduated school during a pandemic.
Yeah.
If you did that, it was never your skill set, but it was always your mindset. Because he's after your mind. He knows if he can get your mind, he can get the rest of your life. If he can control the way you think, he can control the way you act. If he can control the way you act, then he controls the way you speak. And if he can control the way you speak, because it's by the tongue.
That's so good. I've heard it said that from your thoughts become your actions, from your actions become your habits, and from your habits becomes your character.
Yeah.
And you can have a calling, and you can be talented, and that can take you to your calling, but what's going to keep you there is your character.
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful. So I'm the one, and I was made for this. I'm the one, I was made for this. And hey, if you're listening to this, I want to tell you that you are the one. That again, you don't have to stay where you are, and that there's no better time than now. There's no better person than you.
Yep.
And again, I say this every single episode, really because I want people to realize that, you're waiting on something to come help you. You're waiting on an opportunity to fall on your lap. But in reality, what you have to do is you have to make the decision to say, hey, I am the one. I have the ability to actually move forward, to take a step forward, to take a leap. And while you're doing that, I encourage you to ask yourself, what is your trust in? What is your belief in?
Yeah.
I know for us, we're people of faith. So for us, we rely on God. But for the person that, maybe not even believe in God yet, what would you say to that person? That they want to believe that they're the one. They want to believe that they were made for this, or made for whatever they were created to do. But they don't really know, if there's a God or if there's anything like that, or what would you say to that person that doesn't even believe in a God? So how can this message resonate with that person? Or how do you believe that this message resonates with that person?
I would simply say, even when you don't believe in God, he still believes in you.
That's good.
Even when you don't believe in God, he still believes in you. despite what you think about yourself, or despite what you think about him, despite if you want finite answers from an infinite God, no matter what your viewpoint is, God still exists. You know, and I think while we're on this topic, I think it's our job as believers, it's our jobs as Christians to carry the good news. And this is the thing about you are the one. You know, I believe that the good news was never about coming, it was about going. So I've noticed that Christians, we like to gather in churches, we like to confine within a building, but Jesus said to bring the good news to people. You know, so I want to create a sense of urgency for every Christian. I want to tell you that there's no Justice League coming. There's no superheroes coming. The only people who can bring the good news is us.
No one else is coming.
Yep.
No one else is coming. Well, hey, you're the one, and you were made for this. You don't have to stay where you started. You don't have to stop where you are. There's no better time than now, and there's no better person than you.
Yes, sir.
And that's the move.